One thing you have to be really careful of on set, whether you're the director, the producer, the camera op, the camera assistant, the DP, the grip, the script writer, if you happen to be on set, whatever you do, you have to be careful of overwhelming the people around you with too much feedback. This is something that's very sensitive for actors specifically because they tend to get the most feedback, or whoever the talent is on camera. They don't have to necessarily be an actor. They could just be the person on camera. But what can happen frequently is that everyone has their own feedback, their own 2 cents to share. And if that one person or that group of people or whoever it is getting too much feedback all at once, it can be very overwhelming. For example, if you have someone on camera and one person says, okay, you need to stand, on that specific spot, and someone else says, okay, and yeah, you need to make sure you do this with your hand, and then someone else says, okay, and make sure you say the line this way, and then someone else says, oh, and then just be careful that your head, you face it the right way, and then, oh, and then at this point, you got to make sure you look over here and do this. It's like immediately there's so much input from so many different people that it can be really overwhelming and really confusing for that person to take that much in. And that might seem kind of obvious and self-explanatory, but I see it all the time because it's always like, oh, well, I'm just going to add my 2 cents. I'm just going to contribute my little amount, and it's not that overwhelming for what I'm doing, but then everyone starts doing it, and it adds up and it overwhelms. What you want, and this is far more common on larger budget Hollywood studio style projects, so this is more for like independent or smaller budget things, but it really is regardless of the size of the project. You could be spending $10 million on the thing, or you could be spending $1,000. It still doesn't matter. You still want to follow the same process. You want to make sure that whoever is running the show, probably the director, that person is in charge and they're the one providing feedback and directing and guiding how everything is flowing and moving. That one person who knows how much to give the actor, these are the 3 notes I'm going to give for this take, or this is what I'm going to communicate to the camera department. That person can then know that everything's getting filtered through them, and so that if there's too much, that person can put that in check and kind of scale it back and not deliver as much, or kind of package it all up so it's an easier thing to digest for the person who's receiving it. And what can work well, so on a larger budget production, there would be, different team leads in different departments, and they'd all have like a hierarchy of different people who are in charge that the people below them report to. And so things kind of funnel their way up to the director, whoever's in charge of that particular aspect that we're talking about right now. Whoever that may be, that person is in charge and things kind of filter up. You want to recreate the same thing on smaller budget projects. And this may not seem natural at first because a lot of people like to have a more organic, casual flow where there's not really a hierarchy. No one's really, the boss of anyone else. But it's really dangerous when you do that, because if everyone's equal, and this isn't like, making somebody feel bad or making someone feel like they have too much power. It's really just about for the sake of communication and making sure that you don't cause these problems. What you want to do is put somebody in charge. It doesn't have to be a big, huge, show, and they don't have to have their director's chair and the director's outfit, and you don't have to everyone refer to them as a director or whatever, but just have some clear way of saying that this is the person, this is the point person, this is the person who's in charge, and then people can filter their feedback through that person. Because if it's me, for example, it's a lot easier for everyone to tell me something, me to kind of cycle through it, digest it, and then reiterate it or what needs to be said to the actor, to the camera department, or whoever it might be. You have to funnel things through people, whoever's in charge. And the smaller projects, the smaller productions, they tend to not like that. At least that's been my experience, where you're working with a smaller team. No one really wants to feel like, oh, someone's in charge or someone's the boss. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Everyone, if you've got a role, if everyone's got a defined role, that's a lot better than just kind of this wishy-washy, everyone just kind of does a little bit of everything. It's very helpful when people do a little bit more than everything, because if you get on a project where it's like union and you're not allowed to do something, and the clock is ticking and it's going overtime, and it's a huge waste and inefficiency. It's helpful when everyone's kind of pulling the same weight or working together for a common goal, but you still, in that environment of everyone collaborating, everyone working together, doing a little bit of everything, you still have to have somewhat defined roles so that there's a chain of command, there's a hierarchy, so things don't get lost in communication. People don't get overwhelmed with, oh my God, wait, what do you want us to do? I just heard 10 different people tell me 10 different things. Do you want me to walk left or do you want me to walk right? What do you want me to do? Do I say something? Do I not say something? Is this, are we starting? Did someone call action? There are so many things that can get jumbled or lost when there's too many voices, too many cooks in the kitchen. That analogy is very appropriate for how a lot of productions run, because if you get too many cooks in the kitchen, all of a sudden it's a little overwhelming. No one knows what's supposed to go in the stew, and then the wrong ingredients get put in, and it's just a nightmare. So you want to make sure, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it's like 2 people, it's a 2-man crew or a 2-person crew, still have defined roles. I'm going to do this, you're going to do that, or however it works out for you. If it's 3 people, if it's 10 people, if it's 50 people, the same process applies. You want a hierarchy, a chain of command, so that when things need to, because everyone's input is valuable. That's the thing. It's not that it's about silencing people. It's not saying, oh, shut up, your ideas are bad. When I'm on set, I want people's feedback. I want to know, because there's always that one person who sees the one thing that no one else saw. Maybe there's something in the background, or there's a hair out of place, or there's something's wrong, and one person sees it but no one else does. I don't want that person to be silent and like shut up and not say it because it's not their place. I just don't want them blurting it out, calling it out, because then if everyone's doing it, then it's that overwhelming. So it's feed all that input, get everyone's voice, have it all be heard, but filter it through the right chain of command, because otherwise it's a mess. People start, having collaboration conversations on set when you need to be moving forward, and you're just wasting time having discussions involving everybody and everyone's got their say. You want to avoid that. Have people talk through that chain of command, have that hierarchy established beforehand. Don't make it up on the fly, like, oh, I'm the director now. No, you got to go in with a plan, do the proper pre-production, set the expectations from the beginning, and then the shoot and the project and the production can go super smooth.